Alright, so you've just started the Outer Worlds 2 and boom, right off the bat, the game hits you with a choice, 9 different traits to pick from. Sounds simple, right? Well, not really. These traits aren't just stat boosts, they shape how your character plays and how you experience the story. Each trait gives you unique bonuses and even opens up alternate ways to complete missions. So yeah, your choice here actually matters a lot more than you might think. Now, when we talk about the best traits, it's not about finding one that breaks the game. It's about finding the ones that give strong, flexible bonuses, like brilliant or innovative, that work for pretty much any build. But hey, don't be afraid to pick something more specialized. If you're a melee maniac, Brawny might be your best friend. Just maybe stay away from that one trait we'll talk about later, the only real bad choice in the lineup. Stick around and we'll break down which traits are worth picking and which one to skip. I'm quickly moving on to the video.
Of the audience
Before we start,
subscribe
if
to
you
the
enjoy
channel.
these types of list videos,
Please don't forget to
forget
subscribe
to
if you
video
like these
and
types of
subscribe.
videos.
Enjoy watching.
Thanks.
Let's talk about the Nimble trait in Outer Worlds 2. If you love moving fast and sneaking around, Nimble might sound like your dream pick. It gives you a 25% boost to crouch speed and combat sprint speed, which seems pretty sweet at first glance. You will definitely notice a bit more zip while sneaking or darting across the battlefield. But here's the thing, while Nimble has its uses, it is not exactly a game changer. The default crouch speed is already fairly quick, so that extra 25% is barely noticeable when you are sneaking through hallways. And yes, moving faster in combat can feel nice if you are running a melee build, but honestly, there are other traits that give you way more bang for your buck in those situations. Also, if you are looking for traits that really spice up your role-playing choices, Nimble is not the best for that either. Most of the other traits in Outer Worlds 2 appear in dialogue more often, opening up unique conversation options and alternate ways to complete missions. Nimble, not so much. So while it is fun for a little extra speed, there are definitely better traits to consider if you want to get the most out of your character. The Witty trait in Outer Worlds 2 is all about charm. Basically, your clever personality and fun demeanor make everyone like you, and it even allows you to get away with past mistakes. Its main effect is that your reputation with any faction can never drop below neutral. So no matter what crazy stuff you do, no faction will start hunting you down or penalizing you. Sounds overpowered at first, right? But in reality, Witty is not super useful for most playthroughs. If you are playing fairly and not committing crimes or sabotaging factions on purpose, this trait doesn't really change anything. Your gameplay will proceed almost exactly the same as if you hadn't picked it at all. Where Witty really shines though is in role-playing. Every build can benefit from the extra dialogue options it unlocks. Those unique conversations give you more ways to interact with characters, solve quests creatively, or just have fun with your choices. So while it won't make you stronger in combat, it definitely spices up the story side of Outer Worlds 2. The Suave trait in Outer Worlds 2 is all about smooth talking and charm. With this trait, you get a 10% discount at all vendors, and the bounty required for any faction to consider you an outlaw is doubled. Basically, you can get away with minor crimes more easily and spend a little less while shopping around. Sounds pretty handy, right? But in reality, Suave is a bit situational. That 10% discount is nice, but it's not game-changing. And the bounty bonus only really matters if you're out there committing crimes or running a criminal style build. If you are playing clean, this trait won't have much of an impact on your gameplay. Where Suave really shines is for smooth talking or ex-convict characters. It complements criminal builds perfectly, letting you talk your way out of trouble and save a little cash along the way. So if you like leaning into your character's charm and scheming side, Suave can be fun, but for most other playthroughs, it's more of a flavor pick than a must-have. The Lucky trait in Outer Worlds 2 is all about fortune smiling on you. With Lucky, you get a small bonus of 5% to your critical chance and more importantly, some unique opportunities that only you can access. Basically, your character just seems to have the universe on their side. That stat boost sounds decent, but it's not exactly a game changer. Critical chance can be increased much more effectively through armor, weapons, or perks as you level up. So if you are thinking purely about combat, Lucky isn't the best use of a trait slot. Where Lucky really shines is in role-playing. Some of the dialogue and quest options it unlocks are genuinely hilarious. For example, at the end of Paradise Island, you get a chance to see it hitting it does anything, which only Lucky characters can pick. Pair that with the dumb trait, and you are in for some of the funniest moments in Outer Worlds 2. So if you love quirky role-playing, Lucky is a must-try. The Resilient trait in Outer Worlds 2 is all about surviving the toughest battles. With Resilient, death is prevented for 3 seconds the first time you would have died in each combat encounter. Basically, it gives you a tiny window to recover, reposition, or finish off an enemy instead of instantly respawning. This trait is especially great for melee-focused builds. If you are diving into the thick of combat and sometimes overcommit, Resilient can save your character from an embarrassing early death. It's a little forgiveness that can make a huge difference when you are surrounded by enemies or facing a big boss. On the flip side, Resilient isn't as useful for mid-range or long-range builds, or if you rely heavily on companions to do the fighting for you. It also doesn't really unlock any unique role-playing dialogue options, so its main value is purely combat survival. Still, for anyone charging headfirst into danger, Resilient is a solid pick. The Heroic trait in Outer Worlds 2 is all about leadership. With this trait, your companion's ability charge time is reduced by 20%, which means you can use their powerful abilities more often in combat. Essentially, your companions are ready to jump into action faster because they naturally look up to you and follow your lead. Companions can be a bit fragile and often die in the middle of fights, but their abilities are game changers when used at the right moment. Heroic makes it easier to rely on them, especially in tough battles where timing is everything. You'll get to see more of those big flashy moves without waiting as long between uses. This trait is solid for almost any build, but it really shines for long-range players who lean on their companions to distract enemies. If you like controlling the battlefield from a distance while your companions handle the frontline chaos, Heroic is one of the best traits you can pick in Outer Worlds 2. The Brawny trait in Outer Worlds 2 is all about raw power and crowd control. With this trait, sliding or sprinting into enemies knocks them down and the cooldown is only 5 seconds. Basically, it turns you into a walking wrecking ball that can disrupt groups of enemies with ease. This trait is a must-have for melee-focused builds. If you are charging into the thick of combat, being able to knock down multiple enemies at once can be the difference between life and death. Without some form of crowd control, close combat characters are at a huge disadvantage, and Brawny makes handling a swarm of enemies much more manageable. On the flip side, Brawny isn't very useful if you are playing at mid-range or long-range, or if your playstyle keeps you away from enemy faces. But for anyone diving headfirst into melee chaos, this is one of the essential traits in Outer Worlds 2. The innovative trait in Outer Worlds 2 is all about cleverness and efficiency. With this trait, crafting recipes for ammo, throwables, and other resources produce up to twice as many items for the same amount of materials. Basically, you get more bang for your buck whenever you craft, which is a huge help in a game where resources can be scarce. This trait is especially valuable early on in the game, when ammo is hard to come by, and buying it from vendors can cost a lot of bits. If you are playing a combat-heavy build, running out of bullets or grenades can be frustrating, and Innovative makes sure you always have a healthy stockpile to rely on. So if you love being prepared and want to maximize your crafting efficiency, Innovative is a fantastic pick. It's one of those traits that might not seem flashy at first, but ends up saving you a lot of headaches in the heat of battle. For heavy combat or resource-conscious players, it's practically essential. The Brilliant trait in Outer Worlds 2 is all about brains and versatility. With this trait, you get to specialize in one additional skill during character creation, and your specialized skills start with 2 points each. Essentially, it's like starting the game with an extra level of skill points, giving you a head start on building the character you want. This makes Brilliant an incredible choice for almost any build. Those early skill points can be a huge advantage when trying to meet perk requirements or diversify your abilities. It gives you flexibility right from the start and makes leveling up a little smoother, especially if you want to tackle a mix of combat, crafting, or dialogue skills. But what really makes Brilliant shine is its role-playing potential. This trait shows up in dialogue checks more often than most other traits, unlocking unique conversation options and creative ways to handle quests. So not only does it help in combat and skill progression, but it also makes your interactions with the world more interesting. For these reasons, Brilliant is widely considered the best trait in Outer Worlds 2. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.